Alors, bonjour tout le monde, j'espère que vous allez bien. Alors, il a fait un temps assez beau aujourd'hui, mais il a plu dans la soirée. Toujours de mauvaises nouvelles par rapport à la situation en ce moment. Alors, comme je dis tous les soirs, il faut essayer de continuer de suivre les consignes données par le gouvernement, c'est-à-dire laver soigneusement les mains, faites attention quand vous sortez, n'approchez trop des autres, et puis en espérant que ça va aller. Hein. So yet more, there were over 40 deaths announced today, so the crisis is still really bad. Please continue what the government have asked us to do, and please God, we'll see signs of that we're coming out of it in the next couple of weeks, okay? So en attendant, vous êtes tous les bienvenus, et ce soir, nous allons travailler sur Leaving Cert French, okay? And we're going to be looking at la réforme du permis de conduire. Le permis de conduire is the driving license, and the reform of the driving license. So it's a reading comp. It's from the 2010 Leaving Cert. So if you are a Leaving Cert or a fifth-year student and you do have your papers, I put it up earlier to say that this is what I was going to be doing. And I know that you can get the marking scheme on examinations.ie, and that's brilliant and it's great. You can have the marking scheme and you can check. But I suppose what I'm trying to do with you is, okay, give you the answers is not really the aim of the game here. I will give you the answers, but I'm going to try and show you, well, how do you go through a reading comprehension, and how do you actually suss it to get the answers, okay? So that's really important. That's kind of where we're at the moment, okay? Aujourd'hui, en fait, j'ai fait ma première classe de Zoom. So I used Zoom for the first time. I had used it with my niece just to have a look at it. But I used it with an actual class, the guys that normally come to me for lessons in Limerick. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was good, quite hard to navigate at the start. So I presume a lot of your teachers are using Zoom for you to do their lessons. All that will kick off again on Monday. And actually a really important point that I'm going to make to you straight away is that these Facebook Lives, I'm going to continue doing them, but I'm going to do them from Monday to Friday in future, okay? Because I think not giving it a break at all is really not fair on you. So it'll be Monday to Friday, and I'll be doing different things on different nights. I think Monday will be our grammar night. Tuesday then will be some form of a written piece, okay? Wednesday then will be my question and answers. Thursday, jeudi, junior jeudi, so that'll be junior cycle will be on a Thursday, and then I'll probably do a reading or something like that, something translation or something on Friday. Okay, so bon, on va commencer. So this is about the typical length of a reading piece that you will have in the Leaving Cert exam, and very important to note that you have there are about 10 questions in total, and they're divided into part 1, part 2 of various sections, right? Any question that you're going to be asked on these papers is based on specific sections. So I always find it a really good idea. I'm just going to show you this. This is what I do with my own students, and to be honest with you, they find it very, very good as well. They find it very useful in an exam situation, okay? So I'm going to show you what I do with them. You might consider adopting this as a way of approaching the reading comp, right? So for each, there are 4 or 5 sections in any reading, okay? And for each section, there are questions asked on a particular section, right? So what I always say to my students is, look, first thing you do is read question 6, because it's the only bit of English that you're going to find on the Leaving Cert paper, okay? And it has to be answered in English. Now, what I normally say is make your point in English, and then just give a little tiny quote, a couple of words, to just show them that you have understood that it comes from a particular part of the paper, okay, or of the reading comp. And then what I say to them is, then what you need to do is you don't read the whole thing in its entirety because it will take you too long and you're 30 minutes to be up and you wouldn't have even started the question. So you've got to be strategic about this, right? This is an exam situation. So you've got to think logically, what can I get done in very little time, right? So if you're saying you've 30 minutes, right, between the reading and the writing, that's only giving you 3 minutes per question, okay? If you were to look at absolutely clinically like that, okay? So what I always suggest my students to do is before they start is they're going to go to section 1. I would actually box off section 1. The whole section, just box it off. So then when you're doing the questions in section 1, for example, there was 1 question, there were 2 questions, right? So if you look here, and again, psychologically, it's going to be easier on you as well. So you have, sorry, I'm still getting used to the camera. You have 2 questions for section 1. They are the questions, you only look at that. Within that box, you have got to find the answers to those 2 questions. You will not find the answers to any of the other questions within that box. You will only find it for section 1, okay? So if we start, the first one, it says, selon la première section. Now, remember, we looked at these before, and selon, S-E-L-O-N, according to the first section, what is the principal reason or the main reason for the reform of the driving license, okay? So what is the main reason, okay? Now, I have it kind of worked out here because what I did was I looked at the marking scheme because even though you could say, and I always do say, it's 5 marks per question, right? And that's kind of it's 5 marks per question. But what I kind of say to my students is be careful because it can vary within a marking scheme, but just go with that kind of rule of thumb. But as you see, there are huge differences in the way it's been marked. So for example, the first question gave you 7 marks, okay? So it is written here, and of course you should be able, you can download these, okay? So it's not really a problem, but it's quelle est la raison principale pour la réforme du permis de conduire, okay? So you've got to say to yourself, right, what is it that, what is the main reason? What is the reason given for the reform of this driving license, right? And the answer was pour améliorer la sécurité routière. And it's up here. Now, I know that this is quite blurry because a lot of people have come back to me to say it, that it is quite blurry. But if you look at the last, it's the first paragraph, right? The last, pour améliorer la sécurité routière. And what I'm going to say to you there is, this is important that you realize, of course, do I have spare paper when I'm looking for it? No. Would I be any better? No, of course not. And I don't, but I have a thing here for notes, right? So I'm just going to write it up here. And this is important, okay? This word, pour. And pour means in order to or for. And it's important that you realize that it means in order to as well, okay? Because that is your answer. Pour améliorer la sécurité routière is in order to improve road security, okay, or road safety. In the second one, and you got 7 marks for that, so that's really important, okay? Citez l'expression qui explique pourquoi on a critiqué l'ancienne épreuve théorique. So, citez l'expression. And again, remember, I gave this to you before. Really important that you recognize the way they ask, okay? So, citez l'expression qui explique pourquoi. So, cite or state the expression which explains why the old theory test was criticized, okay? So, you have to find that out, okay? And what you're looking for is, and it's actually easy in this one because it says it to you here. It says, l'épreuve théorique était trop compliquée, okay? Or plusieurs diapositives utilisées au cours de l'épreuve théorique étaient trop compliquées. They're saying that several of the slides, right? Because remember in France, when you do your theory, it's all slides that you're watching. Obviously, look, I did my driving test in France, gosh, 20 years ago. And I know when I did it, it was the old projector slides that we were using in the auto-école, which is the driving school. And he used to put up these diapositives, like slides, okay? And it said that several of them used during the theory tests were too complicated, and they were incredibly complicated. I do remember it was also compounded by the fact that we drive on a different side of the road in Ireland. Et je devais m'habituer très vite. I had to get used to all different things when I went over and did my driving test. Anyway, that's another kettle of fish. But this one, citer l'expression qui explique pourquoi. So cite or state the expression which explains why. So you have to find the expression. They're looking for an expression that they have given you within the text. You can't manipulate this because they're saying state it. What is it? And it's very simply, l'épreuve théorique était trop compliquée. And c'était les diapositives utilisées étaient trop compliquées. So it was those slides were too complicated, okay? Now that's all from section 1, right? So how you did in those 2 questions, you could only have seen them. You could only have found those in, oh, well done, Liz. I've lost the page now, but I will find it. It's going to be one of those days, I'd say, or one of those evenings. It has been one of those days, to be honest with you. So look, you can only find them in this. All right. If you don't find them in that box, you haven't found them. And that's really important. Okay. After that, then it says, section 2. So, à présent, comment les candidats sont-ils notés pendant l'épreuve pratique? So, at the moment, à présent, or up to now, how are candidates marked during the practical test, during the driving test, right? And it does show it here, okay? Ils se vont retirer, se voir retirer des points à chaque erreur. So there was a little bit of manipulation required there. Ils se voient retirer des points à chaque erreur. Points were taken off for each error, okay? And then it said, pour un candidat qui brûlera un feu rouge, quelle en sera la conséquence? So for a candidate who goes through a red light, what will be the consequence? Now, you can imagine if you've never sat behind a wheel of a car, you know that going through a red light would be what? What kind of fault would it be in any civilized society? It would be elimination, right? So that's what it is, okay? So you have to say that commettre des fautes, le candidat sera éliminé. Le candidat sera éliminé. So a little bit of manipulation required there, recognizing that you have to answer in the future tense, right? So what will be the consequence? Le candidat sera éliminé. Okay, that's so you needed to understand that you to answer back in the future. Okay, now the next question, okay, is really important. Okay, so we're in question, I think it's section 2 still, and we're in section 2.2 or 2.3. Sorry, 2.3. Relevez le mot qui veut dire à partir du moment actuel. So relevez le mot. Now that's really, really important, okay? And I'm actually going to write it quite big here, okay? Relevez le mot qui veut dire. Le mot. Okay, now this is important because what they're asking you here, if you can see that, relevez le mot means pick out or reveal the word. Reveal the word. You can't manipulate that. And the question is, qui veut dire, which means à partir du moment actuel, starting from now. So you have to find a word in French which means starting from now. And again, what's going to come into play here is your knowledge of vocabulary, okay? And I know that the word is here, and you probably can't see it, so I'm going to write it up big and bold, right? And the word is désormais. Désormais means henceforward, from now on, from now on. Okay, désormais. That is the word. C'est relever le mot qui veut dire à partir de. Now, interestingly enough, you know the one for the consequence for the guy that would, or the candidate, not the guy, because girls do it too, that break a red light. You only got 2 marks for that. And for this relever le mot, you only got 2 marks as well. So just be careful of that. Selon la troisième section, according, that's selon again, S-E-L-O-N, according to the 3rd section, qu'est-ce qui aurait beaucoup diminué? What would have diminished or gone down a lot, according to the 3rd section. Okay, so we're on the 3rd section now. And I'm just going to show you this because it will stand out a little bit. Okay, so watch this. So you see here, we're now going to the 3rd section in the middle of the page, and that kind of stands out, that whatever questions are for the 3rd section, you've it boxed off. Now, ideally, and I know that some of you are excellent for this, ideally what I do with my own students is to say, box them off in a different color. And they generally do that. So everything stands out for them, okay? So what would have diminished a lot? So you're looking for that diminuer. And funnily enough, a lot of the time, they won't give you the very same word that they use. They'd be looking for you to have an idea of synonyms, words that mean the same thing. But here they did. They said, en grande partie diminué. But the trick is, what would have been? And it's actually way up here. So I'm going to try and show you that. It's les délais d'attente. It's waiting times, right? So it's all that would have diminished. And they kind of go on a little bit about them. But it was that you were looking for, les délais d'attente. All right? So waiting times would have. And for that, you got 5 marks. So they would have considered that up in the State Examinations Commission during their conference. You know, the way teachers meet after the Leaving Cert, and they discuss what way they're going to mark it, right? And they would have probably said, well, look, that's pretty difficult of a question. So that's a 5 marker, okay? But the next one is a 7 mark question, right? Les fonctionnaires. So straight away, les fonctionnaires is a word that you should know, but it's funny how many of you don't know this word. And in fact, it came up in a listening a couple of years ago, and a lot of students didn't get the marks because they didn't understand what fonctionnaire was, right? And les fonctionnaires are civil servants, okay? They're fonctionnaire, they work for the state, they're civil servants, right? And it said, civil servants, que sont-ils autorisés à faire maintenant? So what are they authorized to do now? And interestingly enough here, right, you're looking for the answer here, and it goes on and on and on and on and on, right? But guess what? They didn't really make any reference to them, okay? You had to really understand, here it said 30 nouveaux fonctionnaires, and I'm just going to show you here with the highlighter, just to give you an idea, right? Again, what they've done is, if the answer isn't really evident, they're giving you more marks for it, right? So 30 more inspectors, peuvent travailler, and I think it said désormais, that lovely word, désormais. So that's your word, definitely le mot du jour. That's your word for the day. Désormais, from now on. Ils peuvent désormais travailler le samedi. Travailler le samedi is to work on Saturdays. So that's what they can do. That was the answer to that one. And that was a 7 marker. So that's interesting. And then according to the 4th section, now this made me die laughing because, well, it didn't die laughing, but it was like, you see this one, you've got 4 choices, right? A, B, C, or D. And thinking how long you would have spent trying to read it, to try and figure it out, okay? The correct answer was B, but 1 mark is all they gave you for that, okay? So just to be careful, I mean, you don't know it going in, what way the marks are going to fall, and obviously you're going to give your time to it, but you know what? That only got 1 mark, okay? And it was B. So the question was, attendez, selon la quatrième section, according to the 4th section, they give you 4 different things and they ask you to pick the one that is the correct one. And the correct one, actually, just for interest, was il sera aussi difficile que par le passé d'être reçu à l'épreuve, which means it will be more as difficult as in the past to pass your test. That's basically what all that was about. Then, trouver la phrase. Now, this was a 5 marker, okay? So, trouver la phrase. Now, if they ask you to trouver la phrase, it's really important that you understand what you're looking for here. Now, I'm going to put this in big writing, okay? Because, watch this now. Trouver la phrase is the sentence. So here they are looking for a sentence. Remember up above, they were looking for le mot, which is the word. Here they're looking for a full sentence. So be very careful. It's trouver la phrase qui montre comment le nouveau programme d'ordinateur augmente le travail des inspecteurs. So find the sentence which shows how the new computer program is increasing the work of inspectors, right? So again, you go back to your pardon me, your sheet, and you really need to, we're down on section 5, okay? And you need to have a little bit of technology vocabulary for this, right? Because the correct answer is, and I'll show it you here, it's over here, right? And I'm going to read it to you because it's way too blurry. Pour rentrer 4 petites données, on met désormais, there is absolutely le mot du jour, it's the mot of this reading comprehension, on met désormais 1 heure. So, in order to input, rentrer is input, 4 petites données. 4 petites données, and les données is data, right? We call it data in English, but 4 petites données, they've put it into the plural, and les données is data, but to put in 4 bits of data or 4 bits of information, we from henceforward or from now on, désormais, are really our word, it's going to take 1 hour. So to put in 4 bits of information is going to take 1 hour. That is how their workload has increased, and that's what they wanted, right? That is the phrase, okay? If you got that phrase, you were getting 5 marks, right? And then the last one, les inspecteurs ne donnent pas tout de suite aux candidats les notes obtenues. Pourquoi? So the inspectors do not give candidates their marks straight away, the marks attained straight away. Why? Why do they not give them the marks, right? And you have to actually go to the last line, okay? And it's very easy. We see our word pour again. What's pour is in order to, and you see it down at the very end, pour éviter les agressions d'examinateurs par des candidats mécontents. So in order to avoid attacks, right, or assaults on inspectors or examiners by unhappy candidates. Okay, that was your answer. Okay, so as you can see, a reading comprehension, you have to be very, very clever. Put the work in. My real tip is to box things off, right? So you're giving yourself straight away. Oh, hold on, what am I doing? I just can't do this. Oh yeah, here it is. To give yourself that psychological advantage, I would box off each section, deal with the section, deal with the questions, that's it. Another thing that I say to my students is once they have a section completed, as in, once they have all of the questions answered on that particular section, I tell them to do this, right? So I just do a line going through it. Now watch what I do then. I then say to them, right, let's go to question 6, right? And we don't, even though we read question 6, the first thing we read, we don't attempt question 6 until we have all of it done, right? And it said, do you think that candidates will welcome the new driving license? Refer to the text in support of your answer. 2 points, about 50 words in total. Take no notice of the word count, okay? It's just, they've given you the space. You know, if you've gone way over that space, you know that you've a problem, okay? Because you've one space for each point, right? So you will get your point in there, no problem. And it said, right, will they welcome the new driving license? And will they? I don't know. So you have to look for a point that maybe that they will. So let's say you get a point that they will welcome it. But then you go here and let's say you've read, you know that there's nothing in section 1 to help you with that, right? Or maybe there is, but you know there might be or there isn't. Let's say regardless, when you're doing question 6, you then come back to section 1 and you just put another line to it to make an X, right? Because basically you've said to yourself, right, when you go back over your reading comprehension, because you put the line through it initially, remember we did the line through it first, you know that you've answered the questions on it. And then you put your double thing through it to say, and I've actually gone through it for question 6 as well. So that when you're fretting toward the end of your exam, wondering, have I answered it? All you have to do is check. And if you've boxed off everything, it's a good little thing to get into. If you've boxed off everything, now what way am I doing that? Yeah, that way. When you've boxed off everything, you know that you've answered the questions. So that's really, really important, okay? So voilà, pour ce soir, j'ai terminé, je pense. Thank you so much for listening, and please share with your friends. Let people know that we're going to be here Monday to Friday from now on. We were doing 7 nights a week up to last weekend, which was Easter weekend. And then I kind of said, no, I'm going to have to give people a break, give myself a break as well. So I won't be on now until Monday. And as I say, Monday, it'll be grammar. Tuesday, it'll probably be a written piece for the Leaving Certs. Wednesday, it'll be my questions and answers, midweek questions. Thursday will be my junior cycle, and Friday will be a kind of a more laid back, maybe a reading, a bit of translation, something, but not having you as brain has to be completely focused like that. It's an easier going live, if you like, okay? So merci beaucoup. As always, do take a visit to Frenchnotes.ie. You'll see sample revision notes and things like that to help you. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Snapchat, follow us on everything, Instagram, the whole lot. We're on all of them. And merci de votre attention, and I welcome any comments or any questions. Voilà, bonne nuit, merci beaucoup et bon week-end.